learning lots with Brie and Jessie.
Hello. Hi, I'm Jessie.
And I'm Brie.
And we're learning lots.
Boy, did we learn a lot from the last episode.
We sure did.
Basically, that we were serious ladies.
Very serious ladies.
So we thought we'd lighten it up with a little topic called truth. What is it, Jessie?
Well, I think truth is interesting because there are different truths to me. There's facts and there's feelings. So like there are things that you feel that are an absolute truth for you. And I feel like those things change over your life, or that's what we're starting to accept and realize. You can have an idea of who you are when you're 19 years old, and it would be weird if that was still your idea of who you are when you're 30.
Well, is it that truths are changing, or is it that they were just beliefs that we have with experience and with time dispelled?
Oh,
I don't know, which is why we're here and why we have two guests that are much smarter than us.
yes, that's the goal of this entire podcast.
Okay, so it's about time for our first guest.
Glennon Doyle is an author, activist, and founder of Together Rising, an all-women-led nonprofit organization that has revolutionized grassroots philanthropy, raising over $28 million for women, families, and children in crisis.
I think one great way to begin with this is just what we're talking about when we're talking about truth, because I think in Untamed, you talk a lot about truth, and in truth in terms of the difference between truth and a belief.
Yes. I mean, it's just such an interesting time to be discussing truth also because, you know, macro speaking, you've learned that it is important to understand that there are facts and there are unfacts, right? So
I just want one aspect of this conversation about truth that feels so relevant to this moment. And it's something that I feel so confident that you can speak to because I've been in the activist trenches with you, is how to hold space for when people take the concept of an inner truth as being hate. That it's like, oh, well, my truth is that I hate this group of people or I hate this person. And how do we hold space for that as part of this conversation? Like, is that a truth? Like, is hatefulness part of truth?
My hunch, and based on experience with all different sorts of groups that divide or use fear or fear has been used on them, right, to indoctrinate, is that hate comes in from indoctrination. I think that hate is just something that is fear-based and is always, when you trace it back to its origins, is always taught. It's part of conditioning. It's part of training. Questioning hateful indoctrination always ends to confusion from the person spewing it because it's not truth. There is no hateful idea that stands up to questioning. So I don't have any room for that. Zero.
Yes, thank you for that. You put it so well. I want to know if there's anything in particular, if there's like a question or something that you'd like to leave anyone who's listening to think about in terms of connecting with themselves or finding their truth.
We as a culture are trained, conditioned to think that happiness is what we should go for. But the truth, what I would say to you is that if you don't know what to do, if you don't know what your truth is, I think a really good question is what breaks my heart.
Okay, it's time for our next guest. Dr. Spiros Michalakis is a mathematical physicist and manager of outreach at Caltech's Institute for Quantum Information and Matter. His current research focuses on the mathematical foundations of quantum physics. He has consulted in numerous films, including Marvel's Ant-Man and also Ant-Man and the Wasp. What do you define as truth?
So there's two different levels, I guess, for truth. The first one, and I think you're asking the right person to answer this because I sit right at the intersection of mathematics and physics. And their truth is the idea that if you have some axioms, some foundations upon which you're going to build everything else, right? That two parallel lines never intersect. You know, the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180 degrees, stuff like that. That once you start from something like this, and then you use what is known as modus ponens, it is the law of inference, then from this certain axiomatic truths, these foundational self-evident truths, then you get new ones. But in physics, it's different. There, truth has a lower standard. You need to be sure, like up to 1 in 3.5 million chances that you haven't made a mistake. So that's what truth is from both a mathematical point of view and the scientific point of view. We're discussing truth. Let's go back to truth with a capital T. Right? There is no such thing. There's only a single truth, that there is no other truth.
My mind is blown.
I know. And to me, it's just what I love about this is that it changes nothing. Like it changes everything and it changes nothing. What is it that you would love for listeners to take away from your work? Not necessarily from like a mathematical level, but from heart level.
What I would tell the listeners is that be more like Jessi and Brie.
Oh,
did you hear that?
Okay.
Will you say it again one more time just for clarity?
Oh.
Be more like Jessi and Brie. I really mean this. This is learning lots. What are you doing here, right? What is so important about this? You're trying to have a conversation, okay? I already told you something like insane, that there is no such thing, as far as I know, right, as truth with a capital T. So it's one thing to go for the pursuit of knowledge, but I would suggest that people go for the pursuit of understanding. It's as simple as that, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, when you explained all this stuff before, it didn't sound that simple, but I mean,
but yeah, when you boil it down to just be like us, it's much easier to digest.
Of course, yeah, just be like us.
Thank you so much. I'm so
Thank
grateful to have
you.
spoken with you.
Ladies, have a great day.
You too.
Bye. I loved that.